evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Islandish Podcast, the Family Island podcast, bringing you guys everything you need to know about our beautiful islands and keys. And we are here with our guest. This is Mr. Keith Cooper, the Stingray Whisperer, and the owner of West End Ecology Tours. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great this evening, Amisha. I'm just happy to be here to share this wonderful conversation we did today.
I love it. I love it. And we were talking so much earlier, but it's now time for us to bring this conversation to our lovely listeners. So if you are watching right now, make sure you are subscribing to the channel. Make sure to share the link with your family members and friends, because this definitely is going to be a conversation you're going to keep for the books. So, Mr. Cooper, let them know a little bit about yourself, how you got into this industry, your career background, and what exactly you offer here in Grand Bahama.
Well, you asked a lot of questions in that shot there.
I want to know everything.
I know you do. I'm going to try to give it to you in a very, I call it compartmentalization.
Yes.
So I'm going to take you back to the childhood days, which kind of led me into this arena that I'm in now.
Okay.
But as a child growing up in West End, before I relocated to the United States, to Florida, West End was a special place for everyone on the island, basically. And it's where I got my first taste of the ocean, if you can say that, and the taste of the fishing and the opportunity to go out with my grandmother, who was really the spirit behind my focus today. But I did not know it then that she was going to be somewhat of an influencer in my life much later. So as I was growing up in Florida most of the time, going to school, my mother would come back over with the rest of us rugrats, and we would all give them hell over here because we were young, rambunctious children in Florida.
Right.
And the Bahamas was like, let's go and do whatever you want.
Right.
And so the ocean was obviously the place we went. But it was, as I was getting older as a child, that she would take me fishing, me and my cousin, who was older than I. And he and I would go out with her in the mornings and prepare her dinghy, and she would scull out to this drop, which was her famous places to catch her fish. And if she ever caught a Bahamian man, or any boat for that matter, in her drop, you would say that she was on fire.
Okay.
Angry, because that was her special place that she created to catch fish to feed her family.
Right.
And that journey from that point and living back in the United States as a child, trying to get an education and working in various elements of industry and tourism primarily. And also serving in the United States military, believe it or not.
Oh, nice.
I served in the U.S. Army. But that gave me the fine-tuned skills to understand what structure and protocol and order was in terms of discipline. All of that really got me growing as a young man, because when I graduated from high school in Florida, I didn't have the funding to go to college or to go to a university. I had to kind of fight my way into that realm. And so the only way for me to get ahead was to decide if the military was going to be the best start, and it was. And so I joined it for 4 years in the U.S. Army and traveled to Korea and came back to the United States. And that's when I began the journey into the tourism and travel business.
Okay.
And that was in my early 20s.
Okay.
So you can imagine now, it's been many years since that time frame. I was basically mentored by a lot of people in Florida who saw potential in me and saw that I had something, a gift, I guess, to communicate and talk to people. And it wasn't always easy to do it, but it became such a interesting journey that as I was advancing through the travel industry, because it was going through some major changes back in the 1980s. And then from there, after I got out of the travel business, I went into the hotels, working as sales. My goal was to get into sales.
Okay.
Because I felt that's where I was best utilized. But the travel agency gave me the confidence to talk to people, to book tours, and to book travel for guests that were staying in the Palm Beach area.
Right.
So that kind of built it up. And then from there, I worked in a hotel in Palm Beach County, two of them, the Gulfstream Hotel, which was a real, it was a boutique hotel.
Okay.
And that was my first course in hotel sales. And then from there, I went over to PJ National Resort, which is in Palm Beach Gardens, which was the home of PJ National, which is where I met a lot of famous golfers.
Okay.
Like, even when he was younger, I met Tiger Woods when he was a young boy. A lot of celebrities would come there to give speeches at various conventions, and it was just incredible to meet all of these celebrities and golfers from all around the world there at that resort, and I was the evening manager. So that kind of lifted my confidence even more. And then after that, I decided that after I moved from Palm Beach County, I went to Orlando, Florida. And then Orlando is where I really got good at the sales game. And then from there, because Disney World is, the biggest attraction in the world, that really helped me to develop my career in my 30s and early 40s. And then subsequently, after I had been there and saw the growth was just getting incredibly large in Orlando, I said, it's time for me to make a paradigm shift or a mental shift back to the Bahamas. And along the way, that journey became such an interesting one that it was around the year 2000 when they were getting ready to build Old Bahama Bay.
Right. Okay. Yes.
And
that timeline sounds perfect.
That's right. And so one of the dearest friends I've ever had was a young man. I would say young now, but he was really the most incredible person. He helped get me back here. Reggie Smith, who used to be the director of sales for the Bahamas Princes when the Bazaar was really one of the most active and popular spots on the island. So he was working in real estate there, and he managed to convey and convince the folks that were managing not the resort at the time, it was just a residential
area.
Right. And they were looking to transform the place into a resort. And they knew they would need a director of sales, someone to come back and help sell the property and promote it. And that's how I got back home. He actually told the general manager at the time that I have someone for you. I think is very capable, because Reggie and I stayed close over the years.
Okay, yeah.
So he knew my background. He said, send me your resume. So I sent it in. And this was the time when the internet was just starting to get really up and
early
running.
2000s, correct?
So they put the ad out on the paper, on the internet, and onto the news. And Reggie was sort of kind of neat. He went to them and he wrote a job description for them, the people. But the one thing that he put on the job description was you had to be from West End.
Yes.
And you had to have 5 years of hotel sales management experience before you could come. So he devised this little scheme.
He wrote that for you.
Yeah, he wrote it for me, and I answered the ad that was on the internet at a hotel's website, so a hotel jobs website, and so I answered it back, and finally the general manager at the time actually flew to Orlando to meet me and interview me.
Okay.
And he was friends of Robert Earl, who's the owner of Planet Hollywood.
Okay.
One of the biggest restaurant chains. So he met me there, and we got to talking, and he, within about 10 minutes of the conversation, said, look, you can stop talking. I'm bringing you home.
Right.
And that's how I got back to West End.
Wow.
And along the way, it was really a process, I guess you could say, to get from this little boy growing up in West End,
being rambunctious.
Right, being rambunctious with my siblings, getting over to Florida, getting education, going into the military, working into the hotel industry and travel in the hotel industry, and then coming back home was a process that was always in the back of my mind.
Right.
It was always a dream to do that. So I said, you know what? If I'm going to get back home, I got to do this on my own.
Right.
If I had to have somebody help me outside of Reggie,
right,
I would have been indebted to them to this day.
Right.
And I would have owed them probably a whole heap of money. So anyway, when I got the job, I was there for 3 years, and then again, people came in and did their thing, and it was just a little bit of a challenge after that for everyone in the community, because we were holding our heads up and our hopes up that was going to be one of the redemptions for West End to come back to life.
Right, Old Bahama Bay.
Right, and the whole, again, project, but obviously a lot of external forces caused it not to. So after I had done all of that and gotten into some community work with the children, working in the eco-fishing camp arena, it's really where I started to learn about ecotourism or ecosystems by being a volunteer with the Royal Bahamas Police Force.
Okay.
To create a fishing camp for the kids. And that was asked at the time to create something that the children could learn and keep them out of trouble.
Right.
And because I had this interest in the ocean anyway, I got together with them and we created this amazing program where the children would come and we get them uniforms and hats and they have food to eat. And I went around and got sponsors from all of the best businesses in Freeport were the biggest supporters, like the Waugh family and Bradford Marine and Commonwealth Bank and others around, too many of them to mention, were all donors to this cause to help me put this program together. And then we'd had instructors or I guess speakers from the RAND and all these other places that had a ecotourism component, including Joe Darville. He was really instrumental in helping me get this thing up and going as well and giving me support. So after doing that for about 6 or 7 years and even had a sailing program for the kids.
Nice.
Working with the Grand Bahama Sailing Club because they wanted children from across the island to come out there and learn how to sail. So they saw us as like, we have these 60 some odd children.
Y'all have the kids all together. Might as well bring them in that program as well.
So we did all of that. I did all of that stuff, and it was just an amazing learning experience. Because when you was leaving a job that you were getting a paycheck and you had to find another job, which was kind of hard to do because I did work for a short time at Unexo.
Okay.
So that was kind of like a stopgap kind of thing.
Okay.
And that gave me another insight to why I was being directed towards ecotourism. And because of all of that experience, I'm a scuba diver as well, so I had a chance to go scuba diving with the sharks and the dolphins out there, and that was really, really really just exploded in my mind. And then after being out on West End with my boat and running around the areas fishing or trying to find fishing spots and what have you, and it just became like, look at all this nature.
Right. Yes.
And look at all this beautiful water. And I just put two and two together.
Yes.
I said, here we are, a group of Bahamian people. We live in one of the most beautiful island nations in the world.
Right. Facts.
And we have this water out here that is just as fascinating as it can get out. And I would see things like over time, I would see things like mating sea turtles in the water.
Right.
Dolphins, pods come up to the boat. Sharks swimming around or whatever. I mean, it was amazing. And then one day I went out to Sandy Key, which is like 8 miles off of West End, deserted island. And there is where it all began.
Wow.
The whole idea of being known, and not just in the Bahamas in some places, but around the world, as a Stingray Whisperer was not my idea.
No.
That was the media, that the Ministry of Tourism, which has been the biggest supporter of what I'm doing.
Nice.
I give them props every chance I get because without them, I wouldn't be on the Bahamas.com website.
Right. Because you are literally everywhere. Because I got your name and I Googled you and I say, oh, this man is the plug when it comes to marine tours, interacting with the animals in the waters and interacting with the stingrays and the different animals. And it's just like, it's so much information and so much things that you offer. So what exactly would someone experience by coming to West End Ecology Tours?
Well, that's a excellent question, because before I answer it, I want to tell you how I got to that.
Right.
Because there's a reason why they're coming. On a fishing trip, taking a break from fishing, going out to Sandy Key to just kind of chill out and relax and clean up the boat a bit. It was on a day that I went out there with all this excess bait that I didn't need anymore. I took all of it and threw it off the side of the boat, washed it off this cutting board. The next thing I know, there's 20 stingrays behind the boat.
Wow.
Eating the fish I had thrown.
Right.
And the squid I had thrown in the water. And that, I guess you could say, intrigued me to the point where I asked myself, where did they come from?
Right.
Because I'd never been close to a stingray in my life.
At that point.
Right. Never had even seen one in an aquarium even. And I said, wow, this is fascinating. These animals are everywhere. And so my mind, being a curious one as it was, I said, let me go and find out about stingrays.
Right.
If there's anything I could find on the internet, a book, or anything. And I couldn't find anything. And I didn't even know that they were called southern stingrays.
Okay.
Which is a stingray found along the eastern United States, all the way through the Gulf of Mexico, all the way down to South America, and throughout the entire Caribbean.
Right.
I said, interesting. One species, huh? So that gave me enough information to start the research. But then this was around 2006, and one of the world's most famous conservationists got killed by a stingray.
Yes.
Steve Irwin.
Yes.
He's from Australia.
Right.
And
Crocodile man.
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Crocodile hunter. And so when that happened, the whole world was in shock.
Right. This
As-
man who's wrestled crocodiles get killed by a
by a
stingray.
stingray.
I remember that.
Of all the animals in the world that this man has been around, he got killed by an ocean creature, not a land creature,
Right.
like a crocodile. And no one would have ever thought that could have happened. But what made that a fatal thing for him was, as I've taught on the tours, you don't ever go around an animal you know nothing about,
Right.
unless you do some research or you spend some time observing them, which is the secret to my success has been the observation.
Okay.
Spending time with them, literally sleeping where the stingrays are to monitor their behavior.
Right.
So the tour basically is a behavioral tour
Okay.
where people get to understand what the stingray is doing and why it's
Right.
doing it.
Right.
Because, Bahamians, we were all taught as children to be afraid of them.
Yes.
You don't go nowhere near it. Even if
When
you
you see that, come out the water.
you come out the water. But guess what? They are just as afraid, if not more deathly afraid of us
Right.
as we perceive to be afraid of them.
Wow.
And so what I did was, because of this man's death, I combined two things. Bahamian ignorance and not knowing the truth about the stingrays,
Right.
and the death of another human being.
Right.
And I put those two concepts together to take away the fear and the myths.
Demystify.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's really how the company and the concept of the Stingray Experience Tour came to fold. But it wasn't easy because I made a lot of mistakes, not knowing the animal had capacities to do certain things. Like, they're when they come close to you, if you're trying to get close to one, I learned that they have very, very strong suction capabilities.
Yes.
And they can also I wouldn't say bite you, but they can nip you with their mouths if they feel bold enough.
Right.
Some of these animals were so amazing that they all have personalities, and I was able to ascertain as the personality of different ones and the coloration and the tail of it all parlayed into
The
my
type
ability,
of
the
personality.
and to give them a name.
Okay.
So one of my top stingrays, so I think she's passed on because she was a much older one, was Big Mama. She was huge, and she was like,
Big Mama.
she was like, hey, I'm in charge of all y'all.
Okay.
And whenever I showed up, because of the close bond I had with her, it was like she would tell the rest of them, y'all can leave now because I'm here. He's my man.
Yeah,
I'm
he
got
ain't
him.
paying attention to y'all no more.
Right. And the guests on the boat, because I have to explain to you how that works. The guests are watching this. I'm in the water doing a demonstration with these stingrays, and then people are like, "What in the world is going on? How did you get them to do this?" I said, "Well, first of all, you got to lose the fear.
Right.
You come in there with fear, they know it. Just like any animal in the wild would know that you're afraid of them. So if you stay calm, they stay calm. And that was part of my self-induced learning. I had to try this method because I was truly, when the first time I went back out there after I had been out there fishing, I didn't have my snorkel gear with me. So I had to come back out and get in the water just to see what would happen. So all by myself, I'm snorkeling, got my fins on and everything. I'm out at Sandy Key, and I see this big stingray on the bottom. I said, man, let me just dive down there and see what's going to happen. Well, I did. Next thing I knew, the stingray swam away. It's sand. He shook the sand off his body, and he started to swim away. I said, now that was pretty good. That began the confidence building.
Right.
Because they didn't turn around and attack me, because the whole time I'm thinking about Steve Irwin.
Right.
And I'm saying, okay, if I die out here, it's going to be because nobody's going to know because I was by myself.
Right.
And I took the biggest chance of my life. And then that became a love affair. That whole moment transformed my whole mind and my whole way of thinking into a belief that these animals are not dangerous. They're not aggressive towards you. They're not going to shoot their stinger like people think. They don't shoot it. They actually whip it. And they don't actually use it until there's a neat reason for them to use it.
Right. Almost like a fight or flight.
Exactly. So
Love it.
The things that I learned about them and observations I made, I took all of that knowledge, that self-learned knowledge. No one taught me what I'm doing out there. And I designed it in such a way that I used all of my past experience in sales and marketing to create this company with a concept of educating people about an animal most people feared and had no respect for They could care less about it. And it's turned into quite an educational, entertaining program.
I love that.
And the people who come out there are amazed at that their own fear is taken
Gets
away.
to be taken away by participating.
And you hear the tone of voice that I speak in is because I talk to the guests in that same calming manner.
So that they're calm.
Exactly.
And they're not all riled up and fearful.
Exactly.
Going on
and
the
if they're
tours.
nervous, I give the guests two choices if they're on the boat. Because I say, look, after you pay me your money, you don't get it back.
Right. Either you can participate or you can watch.
I said, no, there's two choices. You could stay on the boat and watch everybody.
Right.
Or you could go on the beach.
And get your money's worth.
No, I said, I give you a bucket of water, seawater, and there's the sand pit. You can go over there and make all of this beautiful sand castles that you can make. And so those were the two options. Okay. And believe you me, I've had people actually stay on the boat. Tony Macaroni was one of them.
Boy, we can get back to that and to that story. Let's get a commercial break going right now.
Sure.
But we are loving this conversation that we're having right now with Mr. Keith Cooper, the Stingray Whisperer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jason.
And I'm Cheryl. Join us here on Superior Talk Bahamas YouTube channel every Tuesday at 6 for Let's Talk,
where we talk about issues that matter to you. We try to come up with workable, practical solutions so we have more action and less talk.
See you on Tuesday.
Okay, so we're back with Islandish Podcast with Mr. Keith Cooper talking all about West End Ecology Tours and how he is doing the Lord's work by demystifying the fear of stingrays here in the Bahamas. So you started to talk about Tony Macaroni and how he decided to stay on the boat being scary.
Oh. I love him so much.
Yes.
And I hope he watches this at some point. And he and I are good friends. And one thing I have to say about him is as much as he was afraid, because he said, he said, I'm absolutely not getting off this boat. And he made it clear that he wasn't getting off this boat. And it was a little bit of a chilly day. It was in the month of February. And so when I got back on the boat and we're getting ready to leave to go back to West End, he says to me in a very, very, very nice way, he says, Keith, I've been all over. I've done all kinds of things in the Bahamas, he said, but what I just witnessed with you was absolutely incredible. It was remarkable. He was impressed. And, it takes a lot to impress
him. Yeah.
So when he gave me that compliment, I felt like the king of the hill. That here, Tony Macaroni, one of the most revered experts in conch, was giving me a compliment on something that he was deathly afraid of.
Right.
And he was saying it in such a way as like, dude, you have something here. He was basically saying, you got a talent here. And he wanted to make sure people knew about it. So he says, look, I want you to get your flyer. And then at the time, I didn't have many of them ready, but I went and got some flyers done, laminated, gave it to him, and he put it up on his wall.
Right.
So I got to take him a new one now.
Yeah, definitely. You got to update that.
Yeah. So, because the prices are gone up.
Oh, that's true, too. Inflation.
So anyway, he's been a very, very big supporter, and I want to try to get him in the water one day, but I know that ain't going to happen. I'm just going to give up on that concept. So, but he was just one of those Bahamians that I have to tell. I have many moments of stories out there on the island that I can share, but we obviously don't have enough time to go into all of them. But I could tell you, I've had some really interesting encounters with wildlife out there. That's the best part, is when I get to see, last summer during the solstice in June, the most fascinating thing I'd ever seen in almost 20 years I've been working out there, studying these animals. I was able to film, and that's why I brought my computer. I wanted to show you later. I actually filmed an entire mating ritual. Of nurse sharks.
Oh, wow.
And got to tell you, it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen in nature. To be in the water while they're, and all I could hear in the background playing was Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On. Because these animals were going through I'm telling you, these animals were doing this since the ages of dinosaurs. That's how long they've been on Earth. These animals had been mating this way for millions of years, and I actually was in the water, like I am from here to you, filming them with my camera, and they're doing what they've been designed to do, and it just blew my mind that they allowed me to get that close, right up on them. I mean, that was a sensation. I haven't even put that video out on social media because I don't want to steal it, basically because no one has it.
Right.
I've looked around on YouTube and there's no videos of that kind of session.
Right.
So that gave me another eye-opener experience. And I know that the nurse sharks were in the area in the summer, but I didn't know that they were coming at the solstice to mate until I went back and I Googled it.
Right.
Then I realized,
that time of the year.
And that's how I got the idea to do this tour for this year.
Okay.
Where people are going to come back out in June, a very small group, and they'll be able to get in the water with me.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And see the process. And then we're going to drone shot it and the whole 9 yards. So that's the newest tour that I've come up with. And I look at nature as my partner.
Okay.
Like I look at the stingrays as my business partners. And
That's true, though, yeah.
Yeah, I say to people all the time, I said, look, without these stingrays, I wouldn't make a living.
That's true.
Everything that I have is because of the stingrays.
And what they naturally do.
That's right. So I took that and packaged it and created a program behind it, and it has turned into, when I'm busy, I'm busy. When I'm slow. But the point is that these animals have provided me with an income.
Right.
And these are animals that belong to the Bahamian people.
Right.
All of the waters belong to us as a nation. So we should take pride in that and take opportunities from that to explore these opportunities and to learn what we can earn from the sea versus just eating fish and conch and lobster. We could also do other things too.
Yes. It ain't just about eating and fishing and farming, but also experiencing and learning and education.
Because that's why people are coming to this country in the first place.
Yes.
They want experiences. They want life-changing experiences in a lot of instances, but they don't want to do it in a dangerous way. The shark diving is a big deal, and that's really what everybody is doing.
Right.
I decided not to do that.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to follow everyone else.
Right.
There's only two ways to live in this world. You can either be a trend follower or you can be a trend setter.
Big facts.
So I said, let me be a trend setter and let me do things that no one else is even touching.
Right.
And that's why I think I've done so well. And then when Mrs. Duncombe, Latia Duncombe, came from tourism in 2023 with her family, she was in the water with me and sitting there and totally mesmerized by it all.
Right.
And I think that was because of that moment and time that she started to see that this was something valuable for Grand Bahama. I wasn't trying to make myself into this person. I was just trying to pay the bills.
Right.
But
then it grew into something bigger than just you.
And they took it to the next level.
Right.
They did. When they did the commercial with Lenny Kravitz doing the voiceover.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's like, okay, this is getting up there now.
Yeah, this is getting a
serious
little big now.
Yeah, I'm like, hey man, Lenny Kravitz talking about my stingrays. I'm okay, cool. But I never let out of that bother me. I'm not in the ego tripping and stuff. I just do what I do because I love it. And I have fun with it.
Right.
And I give my guests an experience of a lifetime. That off the beaten path, once in a lifetime experience.
Not that typical tourism experience.
Right.
Like you said, it's about creating experiences for people.
Absolutely. And that's been the joy I get out of seeing people, especially children.
Yes.
Oh,
I wanted to get into that next. Like, how much do you see Bahamians being interested in the industry that you're in? And I know you also teach at the University of the Bahamas.
No, I don't teach there. I'm working with the students.
Okay, you're working with the students there, correct?
I wish I was teaching there. I teach them how to make money.
Right.
That'd be the first thing I teach them. But the whole thing is the partnership that I now am working on with the University of the Bahamas is one to transform a marine biology student into a marine biology tour guide.
Love it, yes.
So that way they can have some type of way to create a living for themselves once they get their degree. And I'm so happy we're talking about this because now this has become a project of mine. I'm taking this on as a way to help Bahamians and the country understand that we are really blessed to have this island nation like we have, even though we're separated by miles of water. The whole idea to take a student who is studying marine biology, who is not going to get a job in marine biology.
Yeah, that's really difficult in this country.
Difficult. They have to go some other country to do that. To be able to stay in the Bahamas, work within the tourism industry, and look at ways in which they can go from island to island and from species to species of animals that we have in our country, and design concepts around that. Now I'm putting my secrets out there now,
right?
Because I'm trying to keep it all to myself. But why would I want to die and
with
not
all
share this
knowledge
knowledge to help the country grow and to help tourism grow?
Right.
And I certainly am going to do my best to make that known, that this is what my legacy will leave behind, is that I tried.
Yes.
You may not have heard me.
Right.
But I did try.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe later someone will pick up the ball and go, this guy tried and he was doing it, and now we got to do it.
Yeah, we have to finish the work.
Exactly.
Right.
So these are the kinds of things that I want to keep doing with the young people in the Bahamas. And I really would like to get 1 or 2 good students to take over my company and to help manage the company and to learn how to, work the financial side of it, the finances, and to do the marketing and understand the order taking and the processing of marketing and using social media. I do all of that work myself,
My goodness.
all of it. And I mean, even from managing preparation for each tour. And I don't just do Stingray tours. I have a coral reef. I work with the Perry Institute.
Okay, nice.
And putting them with the Reef Rescue Network. I have a tour designed from them. They even put coral reef domes to try to create more new coral systems out in Settlement Point on West End. And then I also have a reef fishing program. And then I have a friends and family program where families, like 3 generations of grandparents, parents, and their children, I have tours catering just to them. And all of my tours are exclusive because I don't want other people mixing with those guests that have purchased the tours.
Right.
And the people, they love that. They love the fact that it's them.
Yeah, it's catered for their experience.
Exactly. And I've had many families where the grandparents were getting older, they might have been sick, or something was going on in their life that they wanted to do something as a family unit. And they decided, well, this looks like just the thing we ought to do.
Yeah, we all could appreciate the experience.
Exactly.
Right.
And they do that. And I tell you, those are the best tours when I have the 3 generations of families on the boat. And I become friends with all of them. And I must have over 10,000 customers and people I've known over the years that I can't remember them all. And sometimes I'll get a call or get a record. Hey, we're coming back to the island. We want to do the tour. I'm like, well, who are you?
Yeah, like when that was again?
What year was that?
Yeah.
But I record everything. I record everything as much as I can with the GoPro and the Ace Pro cameras. I like to give people that as a gift, as part of their experience. People love that I'm nickel and diming them for a couple of pictures and stuff. But everything I do is high quality, first class, very, very easygoing type of tour where they can come away feeling like, man, thanks for giving us this opportunity to meet you.
Yeah, and then they have something to take back with them with the video and the footage to remember the experience by.
I tell you, it's been such a heartwarming and mind-blowing, and
it sounds very fulfilling as well.
I wake up in the morning. I don't even get much sleep at night because I'm so much worried about the stingrays. I'm worried about getting business. I'm worried about just trying to get this island to come to this ecotourism arena in a big way. That's one of the things I'm working on right now with the National Eco Tour Operatives Cooperative with Rudy Sawyer and Barry Smith and Alfredo Bridgewater and Donald Duncombe and Anthea Lewis, all these people who are all in this business trying to survive. And we all have this friendship between us that we all help each other with ideas. We're very supportive in trying to get our businesses to grow and to even refer business to one another, because a lot of people now are traveling. They don't want to just sit on the beach and drink a cocktail.
No. They could do that in the U.S.
Exactly. They want to come to a country like ours, and the first thing they're going to ask, well, what's there to do? Right. And if we don't give them options and choices, they're going to find another destination to go to where they have those options and choices. And this is why I so appreciate you inviting me on to talk about this, because I don't get this opportunity very much other than on Joe Darville's show when he does his program. I've been on there several times. Okay. So the message is out there, but I don't think anybody really hears me. And that's the sad part.
Yeah, that is.
No one really calls me up and says, hey, can you talk to me?
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about my experience. And I'm even more than happy to try to help them understand what they need to know and do to get to that level.
Yeah, especially to grow the business as well.
Exactly. If you have an idea, I'll say to you, all right, I think that makes sense. Or I'll tell you honestly, if I don't think it makes sense, I'll be very frank. Right. And not try to just get people all juiced up and everything for no reason. And then they're angry at you later because you lied to them.
Yeah, you tell me it was going to be X, Y, Z.
Right.
And then it's something else.
I say, look, first of all, I'm going to tell you my story. And I said, we've been telling it now. I say, like, this ain't going to happen overnight. So don't think this is going to be quick. Right. Because it took me a long time
to get to this
point. And when I got to this point and I realized what I had in front of me, that's when the money started coming. I didn't think about the money. At first. It was not even, I had to push that way out of my mind. Right. It's not about the money. When I started to do my pricing and designing the number of people that I would take on a boat, I said, let me just let me just concentrate on the product.
Right.
Designing the product, making sure it was flawless.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and 10,000 visitors over the years, no one has ever gotten stung or bitten by a shark, because there are sharks out there.
Yeah.
Juvenile sharks. And
Right.
this area of Sandy Key is a habitat
Yes.
for these wildlife, and it needs to be protected, and it should be protected, because I've seen so much out there from last year's mating nurse sharks. A week later, 2 weeks later, approximately, a loggerhead turtle comes up and lays its eggs right in broad daylight.
Wow.
In front of a tour guest that I had on the boat. These kinds of things are like magic for us to have. And I filmed all of it.
Right.
And it just gives me that more ammunition to keep going, and it keeps me incentivized. It keeps me motivated and all the good stuff. And I just cannot quit. I'm probably going to end my life out on that island somewhere, or doing what I'm doing, because it's such a passion. And people tell me, "Oh man, you're so passionate." I was like, well, if you know what I knew, you'd be passionate about it too. Because these animals, you got to understand, they adopted me into their element. They took me in and say, "Yeah, we like you. Come."
Yeah, you could hang.
Yeah, you can hang with us. and when I leave, some of them are like, "Where you going?" They got that look, they got that reaction, like, "You leaving now?" And Big Mama was exactly like that. She was always like, "Oh man, I got to go." And then when I come back, it's amazing. When they know I'm in the water, they show up. It's like
I could smell him.
I'm serious. And then when they come over to the boat area, if I'm in the water, the first thing they do is they touch me with their body to register my scent or
your presence
in there, because they have a way to detect with your fish.
Right.
And when they do that, the people say, "Now watch what they're going to do." Before the animals even do it, the stingrays, I say, "Now watch what she's going to do." So I said, "Watch, she's going to touch my leg." Sure enough. And then I said, "Well, she's going to be excited now, right? She's going to be flapping her wings." And, "Oh, yeah, they're excited." I see that they're ready, because they know what's coming. And so I don't go out there to feed them, even though guests do get a chance to touch them, give them a fish. It's not the purpose of feeding them, because when I'm not there for days on end,
they got to eat. They got to eat something else.
They're going to be finding their own food.
Right.
So keeping that wildlife wild.
Yes.
And keeping it real wildlife.
No, keeping it too curated.
That's right. Because if you do that, then you kind of upset the normalcy of the
balance of the nature of the ecosystem.
But Bahamians would always feed those stingrays and other fish, because when they would go out in the Key with their conch and turtles back in the olden days of the development of the country, that island was used as a way station for them to get out of the rain, out of the thunderstorms, or to clean fish or conch or whatever, and lighten the load back in the 1900s.
Okay.
So island was always there for that purpose. And when I realized that they had been fed by the boaters,
right,
our boaters, our fishers, I said, "Oh, this makes sense."
Yeah.
So it became sort of like I picked up on all of that.
Wow. And you turned it into a passion project.
Exactly.
I love that.
I'd love to share that with another Bahamian one day.
Definitely. But we're going to take another commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk all about Keith Cooper and his passion for nature.
Yo, what's up, Bahamas? My name is Andrew Williams, aka Cat.
And I'm your boy Mix.
And we're representing Off the Bench, the number one talk sportcast in the Bahamas.
In the world, my boy.
My bad partner. So we cover anything sports throughout the Bahamas. We cover our Bahamian athletes wherever they are, and they're making waves in sports. We cover them.
Hey, just tune in. That's every Wednesday here on Superior Talk at 6:00 p.m.
The number one talk show in the world, Craig.
Okay, so we're back with Islandish Podcast, talking all about Mr. Keith Cooper and the West End Ecology Tours. So with you being a West End man, how different is the West End economy compared to when you were growing up and when you were there? I know you said you were in the U.S. for some time. You was in the Army, you was in the military, and then you came back and you were a part of Old Bahama Bay for some time before you started West End Ecology Tours. Right. So you've really seen West End at different points and phases in time. So what do you think would be good contributions to the West End economy at this point in time?
Well, that's a loaded question, because there's so many things I could talk about. And you know, West End used to be one of the hot spots, was the hot spot before there was a Freeport. West End was it.
Yes.
Jack Tar Hotel back in the days when I was a child was like it was just supernatural. It was like crazy. Canadians, Americans, everybody coming all over the world there because they had the airport. And so when that when that entity left
Yeah.
Grand Bahama, our decline began. It just was a downward spiral for the community. So over the years that I would return and come back and visit, I always wondered why this community was going down and why it was becoming more. Not want to say it was not being taken care of properly.
Right.
That's the best thing.
It wasn't a priority.
Wasn't a priority for anybody, and I guess the apathy and the lack of confidence or the lack of motivation to do something with the community was left because of the dependency on either the government for handouts or for a business to come in and give you a job just because they could give you a job.
Yeah, an external business.
Right. And the economic factor, the creative side of becoming entrepreneurs was never taught. So there was the problem until people got the idea that, well, I know how to mix a drink.
Right.
So let me put a little bar up on the side of the road, or let me put my little fast food.
Yeah, my little takeout food place.
Food. So that was just that's been a transition business. That's a growing business because you can't grow it any further than that.
Right.
It's going to stay where it is. And in order to get to the next level of economic development, is going to take the harnessing and relocation of a lot of the shoreline conch shells to make the water more attractive for commercial development.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to need. West End could be a fantastic waterfront community and activity.
Right.
But we need to have the resources to get that done, wherever it can come from.
Right.
But if the people are motivated to get those resources, by whatever means we can get those resources, whether it be from a developer that might want to come into the community, or it be with the government, or it be some other external agency or government group that's out there that can provide incentives for entrepreneurial development, training and education of the community to understand what business operations are all about. These are essential things in order to transform that community. You can't do it just by sitting around doing nothing. You have to have activization.
Right.
You have to have some type of movement. You have to have some type of jolting of the powers that be to say, look, we got to do something here. This can't stay like this. Because you've got young children still coming up in West End that see no future.
Right.
And we have to give them hope.
Right.
We don't do this, we're going to perish. It's inevitable. We are perishing in a sense that what you see are just they're just stopgap mechanisms.
Right. Right.
There's no longevity. There's no
That's the word I was going to say.
to
Yeah.
something that can become bigger or better for that waterfront. And that waterfront is truly where the money is.
Yes. It's truly beautiful to watch. We were up there when they had the New Year's Eve junk canoe in West End. We were up there. And just being up there and driving back down and seeing the sun come up and different things like that is be like, this really a beautiful piece of heaven.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, you have to not only have things that are going to be like, okay, this can be good for a couple of months or a couple of years. You have to now invest in projects and businesses that have longevity. So even like what you're doing with West End Ecology Tours, that's something that could last forever because species and animals, they're part of the ecosystem. So they definitely ain't going nowhere.
This is why they call it sustainable tourism.
Right.
If we don't come up with more sustainable models to transform our communities that are challenged, they're going to stay challenged. And then those people like me who took the time. Now, you got to remember now, I'm isolated from the community in what I do. And I think that the isolation occurs because no one could see the vision of what I was doing.
Right.
And those that did see it wanted to copy it. Those that tried to didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
So when you step into the world of something you know nothing about, you're asking for some serious trouble.
Right. Right.
But the opportunity is there. And I took advantage of the opportunity. And I transformed that opportunity into an economic model. And I'm making money from it. And I will continue to make money from it as long as there's more tourism here.
Right.
And that's the other side of the equation. We need more tourists. We need more reasons for people to travel here. So what I tried to do was to create a model of a business that would help become a draw for more tourism to come to the island. And that's really what Grand Bahama needs. That's what we need to do as a business, as business people. This is what we need to do for our young people, and we need to do this for the whole island from East End to West End, because my plans now are to go and create another model of tourism adventure tourism that's going to go from East End to West End.
Right.
And
Nice.
I'm already lining up all of my friends who are on my team. See, I'm using this team approach.
Yes.
Where you come into you come into my model. I'm going to teach you some things about my model that you're going to benefit from it. So I'm not keeping it all to myself saying, well, I want this and I want that. No. You got a talent. You got a skill. It's going to make money. I want to talk to you.
Right. Yes.
And I have talked to a few of the guys down in the East End, like the Tate boys.
Okay.
Shervin and Nelson. I love those guys. And they are like in my corner. And I'm in their corner. You know, LJ Lang out at High Rock, you know, and those guys out there. And we got this southern coastline that's just the most valuable pieces of real estate I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
With all kinds of blue holes. And Rudy Sawyer, he takes people out to the East End to Crab and Bay.
Yes.
The blue holes are there, man.
And they are nice.
Oh, my God. I couldn't believe it when I went out there with him that time. I said, I didn't even know this was here. But the East End has got that magic all to itself that could be harnessed and harvested.
Right.
And create this truly beautiful, sustainable opportunities for us right there. And then the side things, the benefits of businesses benefiting from this ecotourism, you could make all kinds of little ancillary businesses from that to support the tourists that are on the tours. But we haven't learned how to manifest.
Right, those type of
exactly.
business endeavors. So that's what I wanted to ask you next. As someone who has so much experience in hotels in terms of in sales and with those type of tourists, like, what do you think Grand Bahama should focus on? Do you think the hotel side of businesses, or do we need to lean more towards ecotourism? Since it's clear that Nassau is the autonomy for hotels.
Yeah.
Every other day you see another hotel opening up over there. But do you think Freeport needs to now be more on the ecotourism side, or the hotel side of the tourism business would help us thrive?
That's an excellent question. I'll tell you how I see it now. With the advent of AirBNB,
Yes.
we have probably more inventory in AirBNB units
Very true.
than we do
Great point.
in hotel rooms. So I see the big picture now is like we need to harvest that and bring that into the fold. And if we can bring that onto the fold, it doesn't matter if you have an airport or not, because people are going to come because they can get a place to stay that's pretty reasonable,
Right.
have their family there, and it'll be their unit. That's really where the future is. So ecotourism would probably be my first push in that realm. If we had to, if there was going to be a major paradigm shift, it would have to be towards ecotourism.
Yes.
And
Okay.
then the other ancillary projects or programs that have failed or have yet to be completed or even started in some cases can now start to be like it would be like an augmented portion now versus
you.
the other way around.
Right.
See, we're taking it. Everybody's trying to lump it into crowds of people.
Right.
That's not the model anymore. The model is start with segments
Right.
around the island. Get those pockets of people between 20 or 50 or whatever the number might be to go to these places, and now you got it spread across the island versus trying to get one
All
operator.
of them humped up in one building.
And from all of my conversations with my customers, the reason why they book my tour is exclusive to them only.
It ain't no 50 or 60 people and all of us experiencing the same thing.
Exactly.
It's curated to that small group.
Absolutely. And that could be manifested in many, many parts of Grand Bahama
Right.
if we do this right. But
Yeah.
it's going to take the leadership of this island and the leaders of this island, both in the tourism industry, hotels and restaurants and shops, whatever you want to call it. We all have to come together now and talk about how we're going to do this.
Right.
Because
Because it sounds like you're talking more about experiences that are, I don't want to say small, because it's not a small endeavor.
No, it's not.
But it's more so in terms of, okay, you ain't trying to get $100 million in one day.
That's right.
You trying to have where, no, I have some this month, next month,
That's right.
next month, because I'm curating for
That's
this
right.
group of family, this group
That's
of
right.
people.
That's right.
And you're making it something that could happen all year round rather than just a few months in the year.
And the key to the whole magnet, in order to draw this, make it work, is having those stayovers. We got to
Yes.
have stayovers on the island because that's the only way it's going to work. And if the Airbnbs have not been harvested properly or needs to be harvested, then we need to address that issue,
Yes.
harvest that opportunity, put the models together with the business owners, and say to those Airbnb folks, hey, guess what? You're going to sell all of our stuff now.
Yes. That's the way you partner up.
Right. And so I'm working with a company right now, Strength for Strength. I failed to mention Akio Musgrove. What he has done is you should really get. Well, he was. I think.
Yes, definitely.
And he's got the model.
Yes, he does.
He really does. So I'm working with him to help him refine it.
Yes.
With my knowledge.
Right.
He's got the technology down, but he doesn't have that whole business side of it down.
Right.
So I'm showing him how to marry the two.
Building the team.
Yes, part of the team. You see? So rather than be selfish, which is the way most people are in the world,
unfortunately,
we're all about ourselves and not about the. Hey, listen, we live in a community or not? Do we live as a group of people or not? Are we all human or not?
Right.
Why are we trying to divide ourselves from one another?
When all of us could eat at the same time.
Absolutely. You know, you don't want to take from one and think that just because you made it, the rest of us are going to make it when you took it all.
Right.
You can't be the hog in this matter. You've got to be a little bit more civil about this. The whole concept of sharing the wealth. It's out there.
Right.
I've proven it. You know, I talked to Rupert Hayward. His family actually went to my tour.
Nice, yeah.
And let me tell you something. That was one of the greatest conversations I've had with anybody on his island, was talking to him after his children, Ruby May and Arthur, and his wife Maria Louise and her sister Katie, they went out on that tour with another family, and they must have told him how fantastic it was because he demanded to see me. He said, "Come, I need to talk to you," because he wanted to know who I was.
Right.
And I sat him down, and we sat down at his house, and I gave him the story of how I got into this, and he says, "Look, you got something." He's telling me this now. A man who is in his position, who is trying to transform Grand Bahama, who's doing his absolute best. From what I can see, and from what I know, he is trying. He is the leader. I think,
despite all the hurdles, he's still trying.
That's right.
Yes.
If I had to identify one person on this island as being the spearhead that replaced all of the ones that are all deceased now, Edward St. George.
Yeah, it would be Rupert.
It would be Rupert because he is the only one that's got the vision. But he can't do it all by himself.
Right. That is very true.
He needs that team around him. Again, that word, team. He gets the right people around him. When the sixth census opens in 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yes, that is a big project as well.
Who's going to be ready for those people?
Yeah.
And guess what? They not nickel and dime people.
No.
And
people who has come for timeshares for long periods of time.
One bad move on your tour where you cursing and you crying, these people ain't coming back.
Yeah, they ain't coming back. And word is spread among them.
Exactly. And they'll be the first one to go back to the management at 6 and say, you know something?
Take that tour off. Yep.
So if you're not prepared for success,
you
ain't going to get it if you wait till it's already here. I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
Why wait until it's built and then say, oh, maybe I can
come up with the idea.
Yeah. It's too late then. Because someone like me, I took 20 years of my life to prepare for this day that's coming now.
Right.
But I had to be patient.
I think that's another thing a lot of persons lack, that patience when it comes to business.
So, Celebration Key. For my company, that's not my client base.
Right.
They're on a cruise ship. My tour is based on the tide, so I can't take people for like 30. I don't even want to do that.
Right.
So I don't need them. They need me. If they want a high-end client to go on my tour, let's work it out.
Right.
But I'm not doing 100 people on a bus.
Yeah, no.
I'm not into that. I like the privacy and the intimacy of my
And that's good too, because that's a clientele, like you said.
Yeah, there's a market for that.
Right.
That's going to always be there. And so as I'm talking to people like even the president of the chamber of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, Ian Rowe, I said, look, you got Freeport in the middle, but what about the outside of Freeport?
Right.
We still got things to do out there that we haven't even tapped into yet. And I say, if you build the external, the internal will take care of itself,
Definitely.
It's like your gut. It's like your body.
Right.
You don't take care of the inside, your body's going to look really bad on the outside. And that's what's happening to Grand Bahama and has been happening for many years. We're sick in the sense of tourism.
Yeah.
We should be exploding with tourism right now.
Right.
At this time of year. I mean, look at the other islands that have been quite successful because they have the infusion. of capital and the resources and the investors and the government's attention.
And they have their niche markets.
And they have the niche markets that everybody's doing their thing. Everybody's making money. But why? Because they're providing services and ideas of businesses that are second to none in a lot of instances. And everybody's reaping the harvest of their hard work.
I love this. I love this. So as we start to wrap up this conversation, because you have dropped so many dimes of knowledge, especially when we were talking about with the ecotourism, also talking about pairing it up with the Airbnbs, and then also about the history of things when it relates to West End. But when it comes to West End Ecology Tours, what do you see for the future? You mentioned it briefly, but in terms of tours, in terms of longevity, what do you see your business doing in the coming years?
Well, first of all, this island has such magnificent water. I always see the water. You know, everybody's out here upset about this guy going around looking for all the gold treasure.
Right.
We know who he's talking about.
Yes.
I know the guy. I know of him. The treasure is not in the sunken ships that's in the ocean, you know. That's a different kind of quest.
Right.
The quest is in our natural resources. That's the future for Grand Bahama. That's the future for my company. And that's why adventure tourism. Do you know we have a 16th century wreck out of West End near Tiger Beach?
I heard that.
And I've been there. And can I tell you, it is the most magnificent place of ecotourism I've ever seen in my life. And wildlife I've ever seen.
I need you to train me on how to do some underwater diving and how to do some underwater filming. Because I see that's something that your company also does a lot of.
I've been doing movies. I've been doing documentaries. I have people working with. I have a film crew team that I'm working with that are helping me with some of my editing. I need to get more into the film side of it because that's where another big opportunity for social media presence. So, you know, I would love to have some young people. I have thousands of hours of video of some of the incredible underwater footage, which could be the product that we use to sell.
Yes.
Those images, those videos could be the thing to bring more tourism. But I don't have the help because I can't do it all.
Right.
I try to just maintain getting the business in, but the marketing side of it, I could use an entire army of people.
Yeah, man, you can use Islandish.
Hey, maybe.
Definitely.
But I'd have to teach you how to look at it, and there's a lot of hours you got to go through a film. You got to have some way to rapidly get through those choice spots and grab those special images. For example, I'm out at Sandy Key. There's an area that I take people, and the lemon sharks, and I have a technique that I use called the DNA experiment, where I teach people how a stingray can get food out of a conch shell. So I put fish in it and crush it, and then the stingrays hover over it to try to blow it out of the shell. And then the sharks can smell it because they have a certain way to smell it.
Right.
And then when they pick up the scent trail, they come in the area and they swim right in front of the guests.
Wow.
And I have that on video. And the people are like, whoa, this is cool.
Right.
And the sharks are not there to eat the people, by the way. Sharks are not going to eat people. I don't care what anybody says. We should never hunt sharks in this country because without them, the oceans would be filthy.
Yes.
Full of garbage that we can't.
Right.
And it will kill off all the sick fish. So they eat all of the sick fish and all of the dying fish out of the water. And thank God for those sharks. And when they come around, their only focus in life is to eat another fish, not bite a human. And they don't attack us, by the way. They bite us.
Yes.
By mistake. So these things called shark attacks, that's a misnomer. That should never be used because they don't wake up in the morning and go, oh,
let me go find some legs.
Yeah, let me find a couple of legs over here to eat.
Right.
That's not how it works with these sharks. And I don't know why we Bahamians and some of us think that sharks need to be killed just for no reason.
Right.
We can't afford to do that. That's part of what's making this island country so attractive.
Right.
It's been people.
It's the balance in the ecosystem.
Exactly right. And I filmed black-tip sharks, nurse sharks, the lemon sharks. And then I've seen hammerheads come out there chasing the eagle rays. I've seen eagle rays up in there. I've seen nesting sea turtle. I filmed dolphins have been up in Sandy Key and around it. I've seen it all. And it's going to keep coming. So sustainable tourism is really what Grand Bahama needs to focus on. And this island will make money. I guarantee it. But if we don't take this bull
by the horns. Yes.
We're going to still be having this conversation in another 5 or 10 years.
Oh, Lord, I hope not. But this has been an amazing conversation with Mr. Keith Cooper. Make sure you definitely check out his business. Make sure you go on Facebook and look up West End Ecology Tours. Book yours for your family. Y'all always telling me what are some amazing things to do in Grand Bahama. This is definitely one of them. A once-in-a-lifetime experience. And you could get it all recorded. So I know y'all like to post on the gram and post for Instagram and everything. This is definitely the tour you want to check out. Thank you so much, Mr. Cooper. If they want to get in touch with you, how can they reach out to you to book some tours?
Well, they go to westendecologytours.com first. Then you can see and learn everything that I've done.
Right.
That will be your basis to start with. And then you can go right from there, click on the tours that are all on one page, click on one of the 6 tours, purchase it online. I don't take cash anymore because it's getting too complicated.
That's
so
right.
You can buy everything online. You can even, or you can set it up however you want. I've got flexibility. I can add-ons. You can do all kinds of things. So the website has really been the key to my success, and I made it so easy to follow and to read and to make it enjoyable. Plus, adding the videos from different YouTube sites and my own videos to make it attractive for people to go, wow, I want to do that.
Yes.
And then to see other people doing it makes it even more fun to want to book a tour. So, yeah, go to the website first, and then you'll get to Instagram and you'll get to Facebook from there as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you guys so much for watching and interacting with this amazing episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave your comments below. Mr. Keith Cooper, thank you so much for being a guest on this episode. We'll see you guys next time right here on Islandish Podcast. Peace out.